That's really weird because are we live? That's really weird because the beginning part didn't play, the intro. I don't know why. All right. Well, hey guys. Hey. Welcome back for the third time today. If you happen to be in the court Zoom for Lindsay Clancy, please make sure you're muted so that the court does not. Wait a second. All right. I guess we're in the right place, Mass Dad. This is Brockton Superior Court. Oh, Brockton, right? Because it's Plymouth County, Brockton. Yeah. Court TV is there. So I'm going to assume we're in the right place. We're in the Zoom room for Lindsay Clancy's hearing today. Good afternoon, everyone. I don't know. The intro didn't play. I was ready to sing too, but it just didn't play. I hit go and it's supposed to play. But as such, it just didn't. I don't know. Is StreamYard having issues? Probably. Like everything else is having issues today. Let me just test the court feed here so we can get it up. And I'll be happy to give you in a moment a refresh on the Lindsay Clancy case if you're not familiar with it. We're going back to Plymouth Superior today. Plymouth Superior Court. That is where Lindsay Clancy's case is. And I don't even see I don't even have a banner behind me. What is going on here? What is going on? Oh, because it's the wrong, I don't know what had happened. I didn't do anything to this thing. It's weird. It's StreamYard. It's weird, but I don't know. I don't know what happened. Maybe I have to refresh my browser. Give me a minute. This never happens to me. What is it, day one? Is it day one with StreamYard and YouTube? Hello? Where's Cardi B? Hello? Let's try this. But it's not letting me switch. It must be a StreamYard, must be down. I don't know. I believe she's still in the hospital. I'm going to refresh my browser. So you stay right there. You don't go anywhere. I'm going to refresh my browser because it seems like a StreamYard issue, but stay right there. I'll be right back. There we go. Now it seems to be working. I don't know what just had happened, but it happened. All right. So we are in Plymouth Superior Court for a status hearing on Lindsay Clancy's case. This is the first time we've covered Lindsay Clancy. I have all the documents and I've been meaning to cover it, but as such, we just never got around to it because so many things were breaking in the meantime. And we had so many trials, and we had Karen Reed's 2 trials, and then we had other trials in between. And so let me just read to you a little bit from the Boston Globe with regard to the Lindsay Clancy case. And this is an article from all the way back in August 25th of 2025. And this indicates that the hearing that was
How you doing?
Hello?
Yes.
I need to mute on the Zoom.
I'm in the middle of a Zoom call.
Yes, you need to mute yourself, honey. Honey,
Yeah.
you should mute yourself.
I just woke up.
Okay, whoever
You feel better?
talking is talking to someone who just woke up. If
Hey,
anybody
take a
knows who this
shower.
woman is,
I know.
oh, now I'm embarrassed. I feel like a peeping
Are
Tom.
you
Okay, we're moving over to the Boston Globe for a moment while those people get their audio straightened out. They don't know that the worldwide Zoom audience is listening to them. Oh, the kid went to the bathroom. Really? Are we really gonna do this, people? I'm listening to their phone call legit. Sweetheart, mute yourself. Oh, she doesn't know what to feed him when his stomach's like that. No, 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 honey. Hold on. I have to. She's telling him to try crackers now. You guys, no, 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 stop. Okay, if I could figure out who it is, I have to call this person out. And if anybody knows who this person is, please, MCS07, MCS07, please mute yourself. We can hear your conversation with your child, and I'm sure you want that to be private. I'm just saying, I don't know. Or somebody who's on iPhone, just iPhone. I'm here to help. I'm here to help for the love of the traveling Mary. There's a couple of people on there that are not muted, but I guess Zoom is the first time for everyone. Hide non-video, put the pin back, and just enlarge the court feed. No, no. They're talking about butts now. Butts. Like my butt. I can't unmute myself to tell her to mute herself because then everyone will hear me. And then Kevin Reddington might get mad. Okay, here's the you can't hear it, right? Smash the like button, everyone. It's been a day. It's been a day. It's supposed to start at 4, but I'm listening to this woman talk to her child about his butt. This is the August 25th, 2025 article called Hearing for Lindsay Clancy charged with killing her 3 children postponed until September. That is today. It was postponed until today. Welcome, welcome. You can't hear it? I know because I turned off the audio for that. Here's the picture of Lindsay Clancy. Here's the article from the Boston Globe from August. A pretrial hearing that was scheduled Monday for Lindsay Clancy, the Duxbury woman charged with killing her 3 young children in January 2023, was postponed until September 30th, a judge said from the bench. Clancy's remote hearing in Plymouth Superior Court had been scheduled for 12:30 p.m. to deal with outstanding discovery and address the live feed issues related to a planned mental health evaluation of Clancy, records show. But Judge William F. Sullivan said from the bench that the hearing would be postponed several weeks. He did not give a reason. Well, today's judge, according to the court docket, is a Judge Layton, so I'm not sure if the judge has changed. Judge, this matter is going to be continued until September 30th for status and review of a number of motions and procedures that we are going to have to go over, he said, adding that he just kind of wanted to let everybody listening on Zoom know that's what happened here. Clancy, 34, has pleaded not guilty to 3 counts of murder for the slayings of her children, Cora, 5, Dawson, 3, and Callan, 8 months. Prosecutors say she strangled the children after sending her husband, Patrick, out to pick up a takeout order. After the killings, Clancy cut herself and jumped out of a second-floor window at the family home, but survived the fall. If you're not familiar with this case, this could be very triggering for you. This may not be the one for you. You are perfectly, it is perfectly acceptable for you to sit this one out. It's going to involve postpartum psychosis and a young mother taking the lives of her 3 children. It is a tragic and a horrible story, and I totally understand if you have to sit this one out. Clancy is being held at Tewksbury Hospital, where she continues to undergo mental health treatment, records show. Her lawyer, Kevin Reddington, has indicated in court papers that Clancy intends to present a defense of lack of criminal responsibility, a strategy commonly known as an insanity defense. By using that defense, Clancy would not be contesting that she killed her children, but would be asserting that her mental state at the time prevented her from conforming her behavior to the law, according to legal filings. Should she be acquitted under such a defense, Clancy would be sent to a state psychiatric hospital where she would come up for periodic evaluation to determine whether she no longer posed a public safety threat and could be released according to state law. In asking for Clancy to be held without bail during her October 2023 arraignment, Plymouth Assistant DA Jennifer Sprague asked that 7 medications were detected in blood samples taken from Clancy in the hours after the fatal attacks, which she allegedly perpetuated with exercise bans. The story just keeps getting worse and worse. Clancy was being treated for postpartum depression at the time. Tests detected 7 prescription drugs in Clancy's blood, 3 antidepressants, an antipsychotic, 2 sedatives, and an anticonvulsant medication, Sprague said. There were therapeutic levels of the sedatives and the anticonvulsant in Clancy's system, she said, citing the grand jury testimony of Dr. Margarita Zaid-Dow, a psychiatrist hired by prosecutors. The test detected the antidepressant trazodone at a level too low to have an effect on Clancy, Sprague said. It also turned up the presence of the antidepressant amitriptyline, but couldn't pinpoint how much Clancy had consumed, she said. Remeron, an antidepressant, and Seroquel, an antipsychotic, Hold on. No, it's that same person talking. Were found in Clancy's system at peak levels, Sprague said, meaning they would have been ingested about 2 hours before her blood was drawn at 8:15 p.m. She said that was a sign that Clancy consumed those medications after she allegedly took the lives of her children. Dow told the grand jury that the most serious consequences for taking this combination of medications at the same dosages would be cardiac arrest or coma, Sprague said. Dow also testified that the combination of drugs taken by Clancy at the same doses wouldn't cause psychosis, according to Sprague. 4 days before the fatal attacks, Clancy conducted an internet search on her cell phone for the phrase, "Can you treat a sociopath?" Sprague said. Clancy also allegedly researched ways to kill on her cell phone before the slayings, according to court records. She planned these murders, Sprague said. She did so with deliberate premeditation and extreme atrocity and cruelty. At the same hearing, Reddington countered that his client has a very, very, very good defense. He was joined at the arraignment by Paul Zeisel, a forensic psychologist who examined Clancy at Brigham and Women's Hospital, where she was treated shortly after the killings. She obviously had no reason to kill those 3 beautiful children, so you have to ask yourself why. Why, Reddington asked in court. And when you ask yourself why and you consider all of these factors, it's readily apparent, I suggest, Judge, that this woman was a troubled soul. It is also worth noting that Lindsay's husband stands by her and does not want to see her incarcerated, but wants her to continue to receive the mental health treatment she so desperately needs, in his opinion. And this is a case of postpartum psychosis, and it's crazy. It's crazy, but we're here for it. So this is what Court TV does. I don't know why they do this. Court TV is on this Zoom, and they've got their own feed going. I don't know. I find it a little bit distracting. And Kevin Reddington is in his car. In his car. Okay. So I don't know how we're going to do this except flip back and forth, because I don't know what this is. Is this like Caitlyn Jenner in front of the Capitol building? What is going on with Court TV? Oh my God. Oh my God. Seroquel is no joke. Had me hallucinating bats everywhere in my bedroom, says Jen and Toxic. I was given Ambien once in the hospital, and I started hallucinating from Ambien, so I've never taken it since. I'm going to have to keep playing with the feed. So Kelly says way too many antidepressants. I'm going to put this on speaker feed. Let's see if that works. And we'll put a pin in the court, and we'll see who the judge is today. Nice angle, Reddington, somebody says. Yay, Kev, what's up? Maybe he's got me on the other channel, because we know he's a fan. Kevin Reddington is a fan. Hey, Kelly Applegate. Ambien made me hallucinate. I was in the hospital. I think I was, I have 5 kids, and I'm a set of twins. So I was in the hospital 4 times for birth and babies. And I think I was given Ambien during one of the times that I was in labor or something. And it made me hallucinate. It was terrible. It's terrible. Horrible dream. It was horrible. It was horrible. Just be very careful. Be very mindful, if you don't mind, for what you put in the chat, because the YouTube gods are out there, and they scan all of the chats. And if you put such things in the chat that they don't like names of certain drugs or names of pharmaceuticals, and they don't like it, they will demonetize the stream, because they think we are either dealing them or we are promoting them, and we're not. So please just be mindful about what you put in the chat. And also, YouTube has been blocking people. So there's that. I've had to unblock several people multiple times. I don't know why YouTube is taking it upon themselves to sua sponte block people. But if you did tell me that you were blocked and sent me the proper link to your channel, I was able to unblock at least 2 of you today. Again, I think 2 Kims and a rights on. So we are just waiting for the 4 p.m. hearing to start. And for those who are coming in, oh, Rooney's mom took Ambien and was found in at 3 a.m. in the garden pulling weeds. There have been other cases of people who are on Ambien and they go in their refrigerator and they eat everything in sight and they don't remember it in the morning, or they've been out driving and they get in car accidents and they don't remember. So Ambien is bad news for me. I feel like different people, it affects obviously everything. All right, just Irish, I'm taking care of you. Every drug affects different people differently.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. May I proceed?
Yes, please.
Your
Here we
Honor,
go.
before the court, we have the matter of Commonwealth versus Lindsay Clancy. Ms. Clancy is present by way of Zoom. She is represented by Attorney Kevin Reddington, who is also on Zoom, and the Commonwealth is represented by Assistant District Attorney Jennifer Sprague, and she is on Zoom as well.
All right. Well, counsel, thank you for joining us. I appreciate the opportunity to go over this. So this is on just for a status, is my understanding. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And so I know that we have, our trial date is February
That's Lindsay.
9th down in Plymouth, and we have a final trial conference January 5th. So I really just kind of wanted to see where we are in regards to discovery, experts, witness disclosures, things like that. So Attorney Sprague?
Thank you, Your Honor. So Attorney Reddington, there were a lot of medical records in this case, and Attorney Reddington, by the time he got them together and got those sent along with the reports and the raw data from his experts, it was somewhat after what we had anticipated. It was fairly recently. So I know that the experts that the Commonwealth has retained are looking over the material that was sent. But because of the delay, it's pushed their timeline back a little bit. So we haven't been able to set up a date for our experts to interview and examine Ms. Clancy. So we were hoping to do that in September. That obviously didn't happen. So it's looking more like a November timeframe for that to happen, which I think could potentially affect the trial date. But I don't know if Attorney Reddington has anything to add to that.
I would add to that, Your Honor, yes, and I acknowledge the fact that I had to get all the medical records together to get them to the government's experts, which we were able to do. They were somewhat delayed, which is not me. So excuses there. I've had 2 murder trials and 2 Superior Court trials in the past 5 weeks alone, just back to back to back. So it's been tough to get things like office things done, which I have done. Apologize to the government for the delay, but I will tell you, I tend to agree with Attorney Sprague, Your Honor, that it might impact on the trial date. There's still obviously an awful lot of work that has to be done, I imagine, by both of us. There are a number of issues that are going to be raised, and one of the things I was going to ask is if we could perhaps pick a date in November for any hearing on substantive motions or even procedural motions regarding trial issues and things of that nature.
Well, just so the parties know, we've got this, that date has been there for quite a while, so I'm really reluctant to move that date, the trial date. But I think that November date for substantive motions probably makes a lot of sense, and we can talk about scheduling at that point to see where we are. So, Ms. Sprague, what are your thoughts in regards to a November date?
I would be available the week of the 17th or the week of the 24th. I have a 2-week trial that starts on the 3rd, so I'll be tied up those first 2 weeks.
17th works, or the 18th, 17th, or 18th, yep.
Maybe I could have the 18th then, so I have a little bit of time between my trial and the motions.
All right. Why don't we put it on then for November 18th? And what type of motions do the parties anticipate filing and hearing on that date?
I defer to the government. Any thoughts, Jen?
Well, I anticipate working with Attorney Reddington to schedule the examination of his client. So I don't think I'd need to file a motion on that. So I don't know that I would have any motions at this point in time. I will have motions in limine for the final pretrial, but I don't think I'd have any other substantive motions for that time frame.
Okay. My initial thought, Your Honor, just kind of off the top of my head, just to give you an idea, I would say probably there may be a hearing on a motion for change of venue. I would be raising some issues regarding jury list. I would be asking if the court would consider providing both myself and the government with the anticipated jury list all in advance. I've tried enough cases to know that what happens is literally, as you all know, 10 minutes before the jurors walk into the courtroom, we have a court officer plot, 200 pages of jury questionnaires in front of us. We then have to examine them. It's a high stress circumstance, obviously, and it's very difficult to absorb. You literally cannot vet in any fashion to a meaningful degree. The individual voir dire with attorney conducted voir dire is pretty helpful in that regard, but one of the things I'm going to ask is that we get access to the jury list prior to the actual trial date. There is one statement that may be subject to a motion to suppress on voluntariness as far as knowing intelligent or knowing exactly what she's saying at the time she's alleged to have said it while in the hospital on medication. I'm still looking into that. There are a number of issues regarding the lack of criminal responsibility that I would be filing, and also I'm going to request that the court, and again, I'm just fleshing these out for you, I'm going to ask that the court will consider a bifurcation as far as criminal responsibility as opposed to criminal liability. In other words, we all know in a case involving lack of criminal responsibility that the main issue is whether or not the defendant at the time of the incident, as a result of a mental disease or defect, was either unable to appreciate the criminality of the conduct or, in the disjunctive, conform their conduct to the requirements of the law, which is really the issue that would be presented through the expert testimony and testimony regarding the circumstances surrounding the defendant at the time of and prior to, subsequent to the incident. So the issue of the actual gruesome nature of the allegations is something that the government can present through their testimony, through their police officers. We all know that there will be videos, there will be photographs, there will be autopsies, there will be all sorts of horrific evidence that the government will present. And I don't suggest for 1 minute that they will be doing that to try to kind of take advantage, if you will, of the emotion of the case. I know what you're expecting to Walt to even suggest that. It's just the nature of the beast, and it's very difficult to defend on that type of situation. So one of the arguments I make is for the court to consider bifurcating. In other words, do the initial phase, if you will, of the case as to what happened on the crime itself, charging the triple homicide, the murders, and then getting into the issue of lack of criminal responsibility. I would be anticipating raising an issue of security. What I'm concerned about, as your Honor knows, is that Ms. Clancy is presently staying at the Tewksbury Hospital, which is very fine. What concerns me is it's a long ride from Plymouth to Tewksbury, and then from Tewksbury to Plymouth, day in and day out. I'm thinking, again, anticipating the possibility of requesting that the court consider kind of like a hybrid security. Your Honor knows we'll have doctor confirmation that she is unable to walk. She is still paralyzed. She's confined to a wheelchair. I would ask the court to consider a location that would not be a matter of public disclosure, that she would be able to stay at, subject to whether it's a hybrid, such as a private security and or government security to ensure, I don't know, they can put somebody to sit outside the door, make sure that she doesn't run away or something. But my concern is that I think with her medical condition, being paralyzed, and the stress of a trial, especially with the emotion involved in this case, I think that it's a consideration I'd like to raise. So those are some of the motions that I would be raising on the November date, just so everyone knows.
All right. Well, I think it probably makes sense then to schedule a hearing date on motions like that or other motions that the Commonwealth or the defendant may want to file. So do we want, why don't we pick a date, motions to be filed by November 4th, so 2 weeks before that date?
That's fine.
Thank you.
Almost?
That's
All right,
fine, Your
and
Honor.
now-
Thank you.
All right, here's a question. I heard mention a possible motion to suppress. Do we want to have that on that date as well? Because that's going to require testimony.
I would be able to let you know on the 4th, Your Honor, or by the 4th as to whether or not, for one, that would be a motion. Number two, if it would be evidentiary and how many witnesses, we could plan on that. So I would, you know, that by the 4th of November.
Well, I was kind of having some problems hearing that. But my thought would be more to, other than the motion to suppress, have all those other motions heard on the 18th, and then we can discuss maybe scheduling the motion to suppress if it's filed for a date shortly thereafter.
That's fine.
Now, the next question is I'm inclined to put this on November 18th, maybe down in Plymouth.
That's fine.
That's fine.
And then that way, whatever kind of, there's some talk about security and other issues and how logistics, I think it may make sense to have Ms. Clancy brought in on that date.
Okay.
All right, and then, so that'll be down in Plymouth.
And would that be at 9 a.m. or 2 p.m., Your Honor?
So they've got a single session down there.
We have two sessions, but we might be able to get another courtroom.
Would be best for counsel? I mean, if we could do it in the morning, I think that would be the best.
I'd say maybe 10 or 11 just for travel time. That's all I'm thinking of the transportation.
Why don't we say 10 o'clock?
10 o'clock.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then in the meantime, if the Commonwealth experts can get that interview set up, there's no need, if it's possible, to be done by that November date. We don't have to wait for that. So if that could be set up and done, we can address any other issues that might be raised if it can get done by that point.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Counsel, anything else we need to address from the Commonwealth?
No, Your Honor.
All right. And from the defendant?
No, I think that outlines it pretty good.
All right. So just to review, we've got next day will be November 18th for hearing on motions, with the exception of the motion to suppress. And then that'll be down in Plymouth at 10 a.m.
Correct.
So for the record, this matter is continued to November 18th, 2025 at 10 a.m. for hearing of motions. The hearing will take place in Plymouth. Ms. Clancy will be behaved into the Plymouth location. All motions are to be filed by November 4th, 2025 by the end of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, counsel. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so that is Lindsay Clancy in the center of your screen for all those people who were confused by what they were watching. I guess you didn't see the title of the stream, which is Massachusetts versus Lindsay Clancy, and we did a complete sort of summary at the beginning of the stream. But wow, what a wacky chat is happening here today. Wacky chat. We don't play the race card here. Okay, we cover cases for all races and colors of people and defendants. And in fact, we're going to be covering what very may well be the wrongful conviction of a guy named Dennis Bateman, who is a black man in Massachusetts, who was convicted of 2 counts of murder in 2007 for killing, allegedly, a woman and her unborn child, because she was 7 months pregnant at the time, at a gas station in Deerfield, Massachusetts. And His case is going up on appeal again for another time to get him a new trial because they concealed evidence in his case, didn't turn it over, and there was something to do with the jailhouse snitch. So we don't play the race card here. Maybe you're new, but we don't do that. But there were some wild comments in the chat, and we're going to have to go through it again later. Lindsay Clancy is suffering from what her psychiatrists say is postpartum psychosis, which caused her that and a combination of the medications that she was on and that she was prescribed that caused her to perhaps commit this horrific crime. I don't think there's any question that she did it. The question is, was she in her right mind when she did it? And what do we make of the postpartum psychosis argument? Because the same thing is going to be argued in Kelsey Fitzsimmons' case. And Kelsey Fitzsimmons, luckily, nobody was killed in that case, but Kelsey Fitzsimmons was shot in the chest by an officer. And this is, an issue. And these medications are an issue. And also, we're going to talk about these medications again when we get to the appeal on Carly Gregg. Carly Gregg is a Mississippi girl. She was 13, I think, years old when she took the life of her mother with a firearm that was unsecured underneath the bed in her mother's bedroom. And it was like she snapped. It was like she was on all kinds of like these antidepressants that were prescribed to her at the age of 13 by these doctors that were seeing her on Zoom, and they switched up her meds. And it's a very complicated story, but suffice to say that Carly Gregg was convicted at the age of 14 and sentenced in Mississippi to life without ever having the possibility of parole in prison. And her family was also standing behind her saying she snapped. This was not like Carly. And so we're going to talk about that appeal as soon as we have a moment to segue into something else, but I've got the briefs and everything else. So we need to talk about that. And that is also a medication issue. So there's a lot of questions here. Kevin Reddington, her attorney, who is really one of the best defense attorneys in Massachusetts, according to people who know him and others, even though he did defend Jennifer McCabe, we can't blame him for that because you can't judge an attorney by their clients necessarily. But Kevin Reddington puts up a good fight. We saw him try the Harry Turk case, and he got Harry Turk a manslaughter conviction, which was far less than I thought that he should get. There's a lot of issues here. He's asking that the trial be bifurcated, which is a very interesting argument. And Mastad, I would like to have your experience with regard to whether or not you think that this trial will be bifurcated. He's saying that he wants two phases to the trial. He wants a phase of the trial where they hear the facts and they decide what happened. And then as a separate phase, he wants them to talk about the lack of criminal responsibility for Lindsay. And so that's an interesting argument. I'd like to see the papers because I don't know what the judge would do with that in Plymouth Superior Court. Was this Judge Layton or was this Judge Sullivan? Mastad. And Mastad, who is very experienced in the Massachusetts criminal system, says, I've never seen a not guilty by reason of insanity case bifurcated, but if anyone would advocate for it, it would be Kevin Reddington. When you say KR, I'm thinking of Karen Reed, because every time I see KR now, I'm thinking of Karen Reed. Yes. Oh, that's a great, you know what? JEH362 says, it's amazing how these meds are given to stop smoking as well. As in my case, I would rather smoke than hurt anything living, let alone my family. I know a guy who was put on Chantix to stop smoking, and the Chantix made him incredibly violent. And he was an attorney, and he had like a fist fight in the hallway of the courthouse with another attorney because of the Chantix. Like, yeah, you're right. And all of these medications, Danielle DeMeo says, all of these medications, these doctors put mentally ill people on, never look into what medication interacts with what they're already on. And this is the outcomes of some of the negligent doctors. And I'm not going to say all the doctors in the world. There are some good doctors. And remember, before prescriptions were in the, the interwebs database, right? So before, and it hasn't been that long that it's been electronic prescriptions, no prescription pads. I mean, it hasn't really been that long, right? Now the doctor can go right into the system and see what other medications you've been prescribed by other doctors. And this became a thing after the opioid epidemic, in which several people were doctor hopping. Several people. I mean, the opioid crisis. Has anybody ever watched that show on, was it Hulu, about the Sackler family? Remind me of the name of it. Michael Keaton was the doctor. And it was all about the opioid epidemic and how they started it in the mining towns to get people addicted. And they told the doctors that it wasn't addictive. What's the name of that show? Dope Sick. Thank you, Jeff. Dope Sick. It was a great show. If you have not watched Dope Sick, highly recommend. It's on Hulu. I think it's on Hulu. It's amazing. And that's the problem. The problem is, back in the day, doctors didn't know. They couldn't go into the database and find out what other prescriptions their clients had already been prescribed that month because it was all on like an honor system. You had to rely on what the patient told you. And a lot of these people who were addicted to these opioids and would go from doctor to doctor to doctor, and there were pill mills that did it. So after that, then it became a thing, and now it's a little bit different. But there are good doctors, just like there are bad doctors, and good cops like there are bad cops, good lawyers and bad lawyers. Good priests and bad priests. We talk about it all the time, and so she's paralyzed, but I think she's a paraplegic, which means she's paralyzed from the waist down and not a quadriplegic. But if anybody has any information to the contrary, let me know. And it's very sad. It's a very, very sad story all the way around. I don't have an opinion on it one way or another yet, because I have not dug deeply enough into all the court documents, which we have, and we are going to start going over, because the trial is supposed to start in February, but both sides just told the judge that it may need to be pushed because of the psychiatric evaluation that the state or the Commonwealth of Massachusetts wants to have for Lindsay Clancy. She does look so young. I think, what did I say? She was 34, according to that Boston Globe article. And it's very sad. And it's horrible, but we're seeing this a lot more frequently, right? Thank you, Paula, for becoming a new member. And Max Bang says, I need to read up on this case. I've missed much of Melanie's info. This is the first show that we're doing on Lindsay Clancy, Max, so you have not missed a thing from me, but we do have the documents and we're going to start getting into it. But because Brian Walsh is supposed to start October 20th, I have so many motions that were just dropped today and yesterday. We did a full 2 hours this morning. So we got to get through Walsh, I think, first before we can deep dive into Lindsay Clancy. But I just want people to start thinking about it, start thinking about it. Start doing your research on postpartum psychosis. Start doing your research on these medications that are just prescribed to women, and start doing your research on women's health and how so many women's complaints are just ignored by certain doctors. And it's just like, oh, you're crazy. That's why they call it hysteria. Okay. Do the deep dive on that, because it comes from, the word hysterectomy, because women were crazy because they had a uterus. I mean, it goes all the way back. So Maya says, not guilty by reason of insanity, said no one ever about a black or brown mother that did what Clancy did to her babies. They go to prison for life without parole. Let's keep it real. I'm going to point you in the direction of not a black or brown woman who was on trial for killing her babies, but one who was on trial for killing her husband. And she stabbed him, I don't remember how many times, while he slept on the couch. And she was acquitted because of the history of DV and the life of DV that she endured from that man. Can somebody remind me of her name, the defendant's name? She was acquitted. Her name is, I know you know it. We couldn't cover that case because the trial was happening at the same time as another trial that we were covering. I want to say her name was Thompson. Marsha Thompson? Anyone? No, it wasn't Penny McGee. Penny McGee didn't stab her husband a million times. I think it's Marsha Thompson. Hold on. Hold, please. The Marsha Thompson case. Yep. Marsha Thompson was acquitted in the 2019 fatal shooting of her husband, Terry Thompson, for which she claimed self-defense. And that was in South Florida. And she was acquitted in July of 2024. And I think that was right on the heels of Karen Reed's first trial. And I think we were covering a different trial But that's a very interesting case, actually. And I think the trial was very quick. Yes, it was because she couldn't take the DV anymore. But the thing was, she wasn't in fear for her life at the moment when she took his life because he was sleeping on the couch. So it was a surprising acquittal, but she was acquitted nonetheless in Florida, which is the home of many of the crazy cases that we cover. Irish Meemaw says, never again will I try Chantix. My word, the anxiety worse than ever in my life. Thank you, Irish Meemaw, for chiming in on that. And so there's that. We watch cases in different jurisdictions that go both ways. Both ways. And the Goodmans are here and they gifted 5 memberships. Thank you, Goodmans. You are so very kind and generous, as always, this channel. And we love you. And they hang out with us on their date night and everything else. So thoughts, questions, comments, concerns. I can't get too deep in this case today, but I wanted us to just get a brief introduction to Lindsay Clancy and her case. She's currently being held in the Tewksbury Hospital, which somebody said in the chat was a long ways away from Plymouth County. Thank you to the Goodmans. And welcome to the new members. Leah, I don't know what case you're talking about, but Leah says she begged that the mental hospital would keep her in, but she couldn't pay. Insane to me. Is this Lindsay Clancy? Are you talking about? Everybody, please hit the like button because this is our 3rd show today, and I'm going on a 4th one at 6 p.m. So after the stream is over, I'm going to teleport you over there so you guys can tune in to Justice Served. Here's my email. Somebody said in here earlier, fanbase@mlittlelaw.com. Rooney's mom says, I emailed Melanie yesterday at her email that I found. If you found some random email on the interwebs or some random phone number on the interwebs for me and you think it's going to work, it's not. The only email for this channel is fanbase@mlittlelaw.com. So maybe, I don't know where you found it, but maybe it's not the right one. So try sending it again to me. That would be awesome. Aunt BB2 is here. She was my first member ever. Thanks for your 10. Says, do you know anyone that has experience with postpartum depression, medication, etc., that could speak to us for a better understanding in this case? And Kelsey's, could Nurse Kim do this? Thank you. Oh, yes. I think Nurse Kim could school us on that. I think that is, I don't think I've ever had 4 a day before. I think that's a great suggestion, Aunt BB. I know that she's been talking about about Kelsey Fitzsimmons lately. Very similar issue with regard to the postpartum. And so I know that Nurse Kim, I don't know if she's been talking about Lindsay Clancy yet, but it's going to be time. And I think that is a fantastic idea, and I will allow it. Thank you to Mama She, who also says, did you get my email about the Coral Springs case? Girl, between yesterday and today, I've had 700 emails and very little time to check my inbox, but I will look for it. Thank you. You're very sweet. Mama She, another generous contributor to the channel. Deborah says, gifted 5 memberships. A lot of new members today. Thank you, Deborah Gelsey, for gifting 5. And Mama She for your super chat. And also, No Love for the Traveling Trooper gifted a membership. You guys are awesome. Virginia, thanks for your deuce. Says, dad on Chantix suicidal. Friend was homicidal. Is Chantix still on the market? I'm sure there's probably a big class action against the makers of Chantix, just like there was for Fen-Phen and so many other medications. And the Sackler family still has all their money. Go figure. Please watch Dope Sick. Please watch Dope Sick, everyone who hasn't watched it. Nicole says, I was diagnosed postpartum 20 years ago. Zoloft, Ambien were prescribed. It was the worst combination. Wow. See, and that was 20 years ago. And you would think that we would have learned from 20 years ago. Nurse Not Lawyer says SNL even did a skit about Chantix. Oh my gosh. If you find that, would you email it to me? I can't play it ever on the air because they would totally strike me because SNL is so strict about their copyrighted stuff, but I would love to see the Chantix skit from SNL, Nurse Not Lawyer. Thank you. Rooney's mom. Thank you, Melanie, aka Joy Schmeier. Okay, so Joy, just make sure you send your email to the email to my correct address. And also, look, the mods are swift but firm, and I back my mods up 100%. That's why they're the best mods on YouTube. And if you're going to be a jerk and you're going to come in and try and stir the pot and try and create all the drama or talk about the drama that I like to stay away from, you're going to get the timeout. And I'm sorry, but I'm not, because I just really have no patience, tolerance, or bandwidth for it. I just don't. Sorry, but really not. Mods here are awesome. And Kelly says, I take Zoloft. I also live in a state where weed is legal, and smoking a bowl or eating an edible daily has enabled me to cut back my Zoloft by 1/2. Cannabis as medicine is for real. Yeah. And listen, Billy Bush is on a psilocybin journey. I got to get him on here to talk about it. I got to get Billy Bush on here to talk about his psilocybin journey. Is anybody interested in that? If you're interested in hearing Billy Bush talk about his psilocybin journey and how he was able to connect with his father, put a 1 in the chat. He connected with his father who passed away something like 4 years ago. He told his mother about it, and his mother, who's like in her 80s, wants to do it too. And he won't tell me where it is. Only offline he will tell me. But I am so interested in that, in the power of psychedelics. And I mean, psychedelics have been used in ancient medicine for centuries, and psychedelics have been used in, oh, thank you, Mitchell. Thanks, Mitchell, for sending the Chantix commercial. And psychedelics have been used in all kinds of things, in mental health treatments for a very, 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 very long time, you know? And so there's, things that grow in the ground, right? And then there's things that are made by pharmaceutical companies. What do you think is more dangerous? I don't know. Maybe it's because I spent so many years in Boulder following the Grateful Dead around that I have a different view on this. But nobody's ever overdosed from smoking weed. You know, the weed that grows in the ground. Listen, all this stuff that's out now, this synthetic stuff, I don't know what it is. I don't know what's in it. I don't trust it. But the old-fashioned weed that was grown in the ground, you know, that was in a little baggie that you used to get, was nobody ever overdosed from that. You know, maybe you'd eat a bag of Cheetos and watch some cartoons and laugh for a day. But Big Pharma is so much dangerous. And you know what is the most dangerous of all? Alcohol. Alcohol is poison. It is poison. It's poison. You're putting poison in your body. And that, to me, is so much worse than weed. So much worse. The synthetic K2 is absolutely scary. Absolutely scary. And we've covered some cases with defendants or victims who have been on it, and it makes people crazy. Crazy. Kim McMillan says Big Pharma hates weed because it messes with their business model. Good point. That's a good point. And Tom Gully says you had to know a guy named Paco, or you had to go into Washington Square Park a couple of times all the way back in the 80s and, you know, spend $10 for a dime bag that was probably oregano, but you learned your lesson, or it had tons of seeds in it, you know? And Kevin from South Boston is here, and he's saying you're wrong. You're wrong. From across the pond. Kevin from Southie, did you flee across the pond? How did you get out of Dodge, dude? You also can't patent a plant. You can't patent a plant. No one has picked a fight on weed, says Squeaker. Diane says a nickel bag of weed was $5 in the 70s. Yeah, and a dime was 10, right? 70s, 80s, 90s. Only Feet says so many people have died in the prison system because of K2. And Kelly says that guy who took the lives of his 5 young kids said it was because of K2. Wait, which guy was that? There's a couple of guys like that. Which one? Alcohol is taxed and the government likes it, says Pierre. But I mean, prove me wrong that alcohol is not just poison that you're putting in your body. And that it does so much more damage, in my opinion, to families, relationships. The ripple effects are enormous. Dan says, sorry, Melanie, but I had a 4-year-old nephew that was hit and killed by a truck driver that was stoned and on pot. I'm not saying that you should drive. I'm not saying that you should drive while you're smoking pot. I'm not advocating that at all. I am so sorry that happened to you, Dan. And that is terrible and that shouldn't happen. But I am saying that alcohol is more dangerous, in my opinion. But I am so sorry for your loss. All right, let's see what we got here. After Kevin from Southie, FKF, Free Kelsey Fitzsimmons, says, just saying hi and thanks for all you do. Painkiller is the Netflix series about that family. Dope Sick is a street level reality show. No. Dope Sick is the 8-episode series on Hulu with Michael Keaton. I think he even won an Emmy for it. I am 100% correct on that, but I'm gonna go to IMDb Pro just to prove myself right. It is a miniseries that was released in 2021, Dope Sick, and it is starring Michael Keaton, Peter Sarsgaard, Michael Stuhlbarg as Richard Sackler. And after seeing him play Richard Sackler, I can't see him in any other role because I saw him in another show after that. And I'm like, oh my God, you just remind me of Richard Sackler so much. And that guy is such a scumbag that I just even can't. Caitlin Dever, not Deaver, Caitlin Dever, Rosario Dawson. It was 8 episodes and it also won lots and lots and lots of awards. And you can find it on Hulu. I don't know what Painkiller is. That could be something else on Netflix, but I'm not familiar with that one. I don't know what there's a reality show called Intervention. Painkiller also was a miniseries. Let's say that was another miniseries on Netflix with Matthew Broderick, who played Richard Sackler. 2 different ones done. They made 2. I didn't watch that one. Did anybody watch that? Painkiller, all one word. It was a 2023 miniseries on Netflix with Uzo Aduba, Matthew Broderick, and a whole bunch of other people that I've never heard of. And that was 6 episodes in 2023. I didn't see that one. But thank you. Thanks for your 10. I appreciate you. Rooney's mom says, I lived in upstate New York at the time. Loggers, blue collar. The Sacklers hit our town so bad. My son's friend became hooked on H because of it. 35 and half his friends are dead. That's horrific. You know, this was the OxyContin epidemic. This was the Sackler family creating OxyContin, marketing it to doctors and sales reps, starting off in the mining towns, you know, in West Virginia and Kentucky, wherever they were, I forget exactly, convincing the doctors that it was not addictive, that it wasn't addictive like Percocet, and so you should prescribe everyone OxyContin. And then they started making bigger and bigger dosages, and then the lines were around the block, and that's horrific. And then OxyContin is heroin in pill form, so when people couldn't get the OxyContin, that's when they turned to heroin because it was cheaper. Has anyone seen my Jeep, says Kevin from South Boston? Has anyone seen my Jeep? You guys are funny. You're called the Snark Tank for a reason. Where are we? Oh, yeah. Ketamine is being used very successfully to treat depression. Says, you can't put ketamine in the chat. I had to block that word because we were covering the Matthew Perry case and YouTube was striking all the streams because of the word ketamine. So we just started calling it K or Special K. But Shine On You Crazy Diamond says it's now being used very successfully to treat depression. It's injected under medical supervision and has a similar effect to psychedelic drugs. My brother's living proof of its success. Yes. And it works for some people. But then again, you know, and we went through this at length when we were covering the Maya Kowalski case, because Maya Kowalski was undergoing K therapy for her chronic pain disorder. And there was a question of whether or not that was child abuse by her mother for allowing her to undergo this K therapy. And then the whole thing happened with Matthew Perry. And I think Matthew Perry started off by maybe using it for depression treatment, but then he started getting it more and more. And I can't remember right now, but a lot of those people just pled guilty in the Matthew Perry case. Please just try not to put the OxyContin word in the chat. So thank you, Mama Rico, for your comment, but let's just, like I said, try and be mindful. And so we covered it at length, and I had Dr. Cave on, who's got a whole channel, and he does K therapy in the San Francisco area. And Dr. Cave is awesome. And so we covered it a lot, and apparently it can be very effective if used under medical supervision by a medical doctor. And also it's used for pain control sometimes as well. So yeah, good point. All right, I'm going to jump because at 6 p.m. I'm going on with Justice Served TV, and Lindy Kenny Bodden and Michael Bryant at 6. When I end the stream, it's going to teleport you over there to hit the like button over there for those guys, and then come back and watch at 6. But I haven't had a break all day. Been driving the mommy Uber. This is my third stream of the day, and so I want to thank you all for being here today and for hanging out with me for most of the day. And if you didn't watch the 2 other streams, go watch them. One was on Brian Walsh and one was on Aidan Carney's supplemental filing today. So I got to do all the things and stuff, and now I'm going to have to go through the chat and delete a whole bunch of stuff. So that's going to take up some more of my time. So if you did write something in the chat that you think now maybe you shouldn't have written in there, please go back and delete it, because that'll save me some time today. I'll see you guys at 6. When I hit the end button, it's going to teleport you over there to the 6 p.m. stream. And thank you all so much for coming, and thanks to the moderators, because they haven't really had a break today either. All right. I think I saw another super chat come in from No Love of the Traveling Trooper, who says, thanks for covering all these cases. Look at that, 2 1-hour streams in one day. So it's going to be interesting to see how many views they get, because so many people come in and say, your streams are too long. I can't watch 4-hour streams. Why can't you do 1-hour streams? And I'm like, because have you ever heard me talk? Once I get talking, I can't stop talking. Like I keep saying goodbye, and then I don't really say goodbye. I don't really go. All right. I'm going to go watch this Chantix SNL skit. That's what I'm going to do. All right, you guys. I love you all. If I don't see you soon, I'm going to die, but I am going to see you soon at 6 p.m. So when I end here, it's going to teleport you there. All you got to do is hit the go now button and then set the reminder and then come back if you want. Okay. I don't even know what we're going to talk about over there, but I don't think it's going to be full of drama if that's what you're looking for. All right. All right, you guys. Peace. I'll see you at 6. Buckle your seatbelts, and thanks to the moderators. I love you all with all of my heart. Bye.